Welcome back to Nick Lenz's Doctor Who Reviews. This is episode number 18. This one, in order to wipe the bad taste in my mouth of this really crappy story, let's go to a much better John Pertwee story. Let's go for his second story, The Silurians, which also referred to as Doctor Who and the Silurians. Now, unlike Death to Daleks or other Doctor Who ones, I don't own a physical copy of this one, so basically I watched it on another website. I'm not going to say which one. Don't worry, it's perfectly legal. So there's that. This one is one of 3 John Pertwee stories to be 7 episodes. Yes, it's also the first one of 3 in a row will be 7 episodes. But I guess that after the season, it's like, okay, let's just have either 4 or 6 parters. And the thing is, apparently, with the exception of like one story for Tom Baker's run, they pretty much kept up with this particular mentality when it comes to the Doctor stories. Yeah, usually it's like 4 or 6 parts. Yeah, exception of one, but yeah, this is basically the standard norm. And well, then eventually the 6th thing was dropped after season 16. And then from reading into the series, it's a lot of 4-parters, really short ones. Yeah, 4-parters, that means it's going to be like an hour and a half. This one was roughly 7 episodes. So, let's see. That would be about 2.5 hours. Yep, 2.5 hours this one was. Yep. Now, unlike previous Doctor stories, where this one does not feature the TARDIS. Nope, the TARDIS does not make an appearance. It is also the first one not to feature it. Yes. Unlike other ones, this is one of those ones basically where the Doctor's at a brand new location, not at Unit HQ a lot of the time. So, by the way, the only regulars we got in this story are the Doctor himself, the Brigadier, and Liz Shaw. And that's it. No Benton. Nope, he does not appear this one. Mike Yates, I don't think he appears yet. No, I don't think he does. He hasn't appeared for quite some time. Now, if you're a little curious, though, of like when the heck this is set, okay, this came out in, if I can find the right thing here we go, from January 31st to March 14th of 1970. So, a 41-year-old story. Yep. Now, here's a little fun fact right about you when it comes to this one. Now, in the case of one of the guys appearing here, actor who plays the character Dr. Lawrence, he actually does return after this one. Oh, yeah, he does. He appears in several stories. One, of course, I've actually reviewed. Yeah, he appears in 2 other stories. The 3rd story he appeared, which I have reviewed, is Genesis Dalek, is Nadir. Yep, same guy. He also appeared in Invasion of the Dinosaurs. I might review this at some point. Invasion of the Dinosaurs is a weird one, involving how somehow they use this lever to bring dinosaurs from their supposed golden age to present day. I thought this was kind of weird. Yep. Now, so the Doctor and Liz Shaw are basically kind of start at UHQ. I think we see the TARDIS. I think you remember now. I think we see TARDIS very. Actually, no, I don't think TARDIS makes appearances this episode. No, it doesn't. So they're just sitting in the lab. Of course, Doctor has other stuff he wants to do. But then Liz Shaw gets a telegram from the Brigadier saying they have to go to this particular research facility to investigate some power outages, which Dr. Lawrence, the guy who directed the facility, he thinks it's due to incompetence on part of staff and equipment. That's what he thinks. He thinks like that the entire time. The guy is so arrogant. He can't think of outside forces are responsible for this. Nope, it's an internal thing. He thinks it's incompetent people are responsible for this. Like, wow, okay. We also have a few other doctors appear in this story. We also have Dr. Quinn. Yes, he actually gets killed off halfway through the story. Yes, and this is one of those stories where, okay, if it's not like one of the regular characters, or at least in the case of unit characters, yeah, there's also a character named Captain Hawkins. And the thing is, after the story, he does not appear ever again. Nope, I think it's replaced with Mike Yates. Yes, he gets replaced with Mike Yates. Don't know the reason for that. And there's also Dr. Meredith. He actually does not die in the story. A lot of other characters do. He appears a couple times, mostly but you just hear him over the phone. The guy only appears like physically in one episode. So they have less of us the personnel. The doctor looks around the actual place. There's also people suffering from like some kind of stress, and also in the case of the chief of security is a guy named Major Baker. He used to be out of the army, but not anymore. Now he works as security, so basically he has to wear a suit. And we also have where a couple technicians who work at this place. They're exploring some caves, and one of them gets bitten, but looks like a giant dinosaur. Yeah, it looks like a T-Rex that apparently the Silurians basically keep as a pet. The Silurians, if you're really curious of what the heck these creatures even look like, now unlike in New Who, which they got a massive redesign, yes. Yeah, in New Who, they got a massive redesign. Yeah, the original version is like almost like a full bodysuit. This one is. Excuse me. Let's see if I can find it here. If I had a copy of the DVD, I probably would show it to you then. Okay, here we go. The Silurians have this weird look to them. But this here, that is what the Silurians look like in the story. Yep. Oh, and here's a fun factor for you. They're one of a handful of monsters who appear in Classic Who only appear in 2 stories before eventually popping up in New Who. The other 2 being the Autons and the Sea Devils, because after the story, the Silurians reappear again in Warriors of the Deep, which I probably will discuss that in the future. That's a guilty pleasure of mine. So while investigating the stuff, and of course the Doctor, well, we have various stuff happen over the course of this one, like Baker getting taken hostage and later freed. We also epidemic in the last couple episodes that they just happen to come across. I would say it's like a very serious threat this one is, and despite I think this is sort of an alien threat, this is an internal alien threat from basically from distant past. And the leader of the Silurians, he actually, after the Doctor talks to him, Doctor doesn't meet the Silurians until like, I think like it was right after Dr. Quinn's death that they decided to have Doctor finally meet the Silurians for the first time. And of course, Dr. Lawrence himself, well, he is disbelieving everything. He does not believe the Silurians exist. He does not believe the epidemic exists until he eventually dies in the final episode. Yep, he dies. Yep. And the reason why the Silurians unleash this threat, they do this right after they unleash this threat behind the back of the leader, who basically he got disobeyed, and later on the leader himself got killed by one of his own people because he thought he was not a good leader, and he thought basically, oh, and this guy basically was like, oh, gotta kill the apes is basically his mentality. Like he just basically like a version of Dr. Lawrence. Dr. Lawrence's whole story basically just really wants to get back up and running. He wants to back. No one wants the powers and stuff, and he wants to basically continue because if the place gets shut down, it ruins his career, and it does. Yeah, he says in his final moments, episode 7, like, "Oh, my career is in ruins now because the place got shut down." And the guy is so desperate. He even tries at one point nearly strangle the brigadier, but then he later dies. Yep. Dr. Quinn, of course, gets killed by a Silurian off screen. Why the Silurian killed him? Because it was so taken out by him. Yeah, Dr. Quinn's involvement with the Silurians is kind of weird. He never actually sees one until he meets this one here. Yeah. And then, of course, he talks to this one briefly. It's like he's told to go back to his office. Nope, he first spent time at his college. It's a nice looking place. And the Doctor himself, actually, he's one of 2 people actually goes to his college. The other, of course, is Miss Dawson, who was a scientist there. And she does a little bit here and there. But apparently, seeing Dr. Quinn dead, apparently says, oh, we need to kill the Silurians right now. Oh yeah, she means they exist, but they need to be killed. Not peace negotiation, whatever. Yep. The doctor, of course, when he's briefly taken captive, then he talks to the leader, and he's like, okay, I'll discuss it with them, and basically have an agreement where there's certain areas on the planet where the humans cannot live, like very hot areas, and because Silurians are reptilian, they can live there no problem. Yep. It just seemed like, though, a lot of the time in the story, they're just really stalling for time when it comes to stuff happening in the story. And Dr. Lawrence just shows up just to be a big party pooper a lot of the time. He is a very annoying character, and he's written to be that way. I have nothing against the actor playing, but when he played Nider in Genesis Dalek, he was a lot better character in that one. But in the case there was one from Age of Dinosaurs, I think that one's just as bad as this one is. I would say the three characters he's played, I'd say his last one was probably his best one he played. This one is arrogant, very self-centered, and oblivious to everything around him. He just really wants his. He's like, oh, these people are incompetent. Give me people who are competent and get the bad work instead of just, listening to people. He first basically he's one of like two directors who are written this way. This is also a similar character written for Inferno, the final story of this season. We have the director's facility be very arrogant and basically believes his own thinking over other people's. He is so arrogant he ignores all opinions except his own. Yes. Yeah. And when he gets infected, apparently his skin's are falling apart. Oh yeah, he's oblivious to the fact that he's dying. Yes. The Silurians, it seems like we're going to have, of course, the one guy who basically was all for the whole killing humans thing. Yeah, apparently gets wounded by the Brigadier. And the Brigadier is ordered, of course, later hinted at by Liz Shaw, that, well, the Brigadier is ordered by the Ministry to seal off the base. And the Doctor thinks they've been destroyed, even though he was ordered to seal the base. Okay. And at one point, we had the Silurians a couple times actually inside the research center. First time to take a doctor and also take out a unit soldier. And later on, they come back with more than like one or two. It comes back with 4 or 5 of them. And then basically he raised temperature so high and eventually gets back down for this particular room that they're in. The room itself, basically the collider room is what they call it. It's seen a few times in the episode, in this particular story. The first time is one of the technicians is affected by the machine, which apparently causes him to get dizzy and causes a little bit of terror. Apparently Liz Shaw is affected by it. Yeah, this is one plot thread that's never actually explained of why the heck that this is like this. Yeah, that's one of many plot threads. You finish this like, wait, how the heck this is one machine causes you a headache? That's one thing the thing is not mentioned. Another one is, when the heck did Dr. Quinn actually make contact with the Silurians? That's another question, basically, that this has been going on for quite a while, that they've actually never actually solved. And how I feel on how Nicholas Courtney's written the story, he's written to be okay. He's basically all about basically more men, but he's written to be very reasonable, even though that he probably has to be under orders. And of course, he does listen to the Doctor a lot of the time, because Doctor usually is a good person. He's not as arrogant as Dr. Lawrence is. He actually would listen to reason. He's a very reasonable person. He'd listen to actually, evidence. Like, even though there's evidence, it's not enough basically. But basically, he does believe that the Silurians do exist. He's seen them. By the way, their pet is never taken care of by the end of the episode. Also, we have one of the technicians who actually survived. He starts drawing the walls, and drawing a creature, this weird-looking blob creature I think it's the Matra, I think it is. I'm not sure what the name of the creature is. But this creature would actually show up, not in this story, mind you. Oh no, it actually shows up in Warriors of the Deep. Yeah, shows up in Warriors of the Deep. One of those handful of stories where, with the exception of Doctor and his companions, everybody dies. This one, I'd say a small number of people die. But in the case of people who did die, Dr. Quinn seems like he's very secretive. He's very curious about the science of the Silurians. But the thing is, well, at least he believed they existed, though Why he was siding with them? Because he wanted their scientific knowledge. And why the heck they couldn't keep the actual wounded Silurian? Oh yeah, by the way, the Silurian himself, the wounded one, he actually would like kill a farmer and shock the farmer's wife. And it seems like you have stuff happening here or there. I would say the first thing you see a doctor do this episode is not work on the TARDIS, but work on Bessie, his car. He's finally got the damn thing. This story is technically the first appearance of that too. And, well, he did have a version of this car in Spearhead Space, but that was a stolen car. He basically borrowed it. He returned it to the car belonged to a older doctor. Though later on he did get the actual car itself, which he would actually use for pretty much this whole tenure of this era, and also the opening story of the Tom Baker's era robot, and it'll make one appearance aside from that in the story Battlefield, which was the last appearance in Classic Who of the Brigadier and unit. But in case his story did the bad taste in the mouth of, well, Death to Alex, yes, because this actually was a lot better story. The only weakness is that the original character for the story, I would say the worst one is Dr. Lawrence. He's very unreasonable. The permanent Irish secretary, he actually is a very reasonable person, and he waits basically a little information for it. But at least he's not, like, very arrogant, like Dr. Lawrence is. Yeah, Lawrence is by far the worst character of the whole thing. I would say second worst, Miss Dawson. Like, she sees them, kill them, because they killed Dr. Quinn. Okay, I get the fact they were colleagues, but was this hinting at the fact that Miss Dawson and Dr. Quinn were a couple? Never stated at all. It's never stated these two were a couple or not. It's kind of weird. Yeah, so that's it for particular review. Stay tuned for my Comic Corner. Yep, my Comic Corner. And more Valiant stuff and a trade from an old Spider-Man stuff, okay? See this video. Bye.